And when we started building our portfolio, we were scared to death of what happened in 08.
Yeah.
And we didn't live it. I mean, we lived it. We were both in high school when it happened,
Right.
but we weren't buying real estate.
No.
We weren't actually even a part of the
labor force
or anything.
Yeah.
So we didn't really feel the effects of it. We saw it. We read it on the news. And then 10 years later, we read kind of the synopsis. And then we got to see, you know, The Big Short to kind of get a little understanding in Hollywood's a rendition of it, what happened. And then we started going to these meetups and got firsthand accounts of investors that lived through it.
Yep.
And that really helped guide us when we first started buying rentals, of saying, okay, the market dipped this much in 2007, 2008, 2009, and it rebounded like this. Now, we really didn't focus on the rebound. We focused on what was the absolute worst part of 08 and how did it affect these investors in the room. And a lot of them were saying, you know, some of the rents dropped 12, 15%.
Right.
Some of their properties, the people just moved out and no one moved back in. And so they had to carry
the mortgage
on that by themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of people that had all of their rentals in one city, like let's say it was a metropolitan city.
Yeah.
And people just moved out of the city because they couldn't afford to live in the city no more. And they all moved to the suburbs. Well, the people in the suburbs in that particular area, they were doing great because all their rentals were full. They may have been 8 to 12% under what they used to get, but they were full. And the people that had all of their rentals in the city, it was just empty.
Yeah.
There was no one moving in because people lost their job. They couldn't afford to live in the city. And they weren't going to commute from in the city to outside the city where their new job was.
Right.
And a lot of people just lost their jobs. They just didn't have anywhere to go.
Well,
and
they moved in with family and
Right.
households consolidated. Kids didn't move out. Grandparents moved in.
Mm-hmm. What we decided is we're going to have a number in mind of here's how much debt we're going to allow this property to have. So we got to buy at X. And we got to be able to add value by renovating.
Mm-hmm.
And by adding value by renovating, that was us being able to force equity into the property through the renovation.
Did a BRRRR for most of our properties, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat.
Yeah.
Good night.
It's been a while since we've done
I know. It's funny because you listen on podcasts and it's like, it's not that hard. Come on. And then here we are.
I know. But the idea is that we bought our properties very strategically.
And it worked in the market we bought in. I want to make that like really clear. When we were buying, we bought most of ours off the MLS and we were able to do a handful of true BRRRRs where we had nothing left or pulled cash out to buy more.
Yeah.
And our first few were true BRRRRs and it was great. And then I don't know if our criteria got a little more lax because it's like, oh, we have all this cash. Like we can. But we managed to build a solid portfolio without a ton of cash on our own.
Yeah. So what